Hey, hello. Back at the B3 panel extravaganza. And now we are having something very special and very dear to me. We are having a panel about outer space. I'm a big space nerd. I can't even remember when I started being interested in space. I have like all the stuff around, like the space shuttle is sitting in the back here. And so it's great to be able to host this panel about the possibilities of space exploration and VR and space exploration. I would like to introduce our panelists, and we have here from Italy, Giovanni Modena. Hello.
Hi.
It is super exciting talking to you about your VR experience of flying through space. I'm pretty sure in the meantime I'm too old to actually will make it to space, but I would like to try it on VR, but of course my non-ability going to space leads me directly to Laura Winterling, who is a physicist from Germany and a former European Space Agency astronaut trainer. So I can probably ask her what I fucked up not being in space right now, but we can talk about that. But it's great having you. And I would like to start with you, Laura, about the reality of real space before we move to Giovanni and the reality of virtual space. So what do you think, what is the state of space technology and the state of the art right now? What are the most wonderful and most interesting and exciting things happening right now?
Well, first of all, we do have an International Space Station right now. Just while all of you are listening in and tuning in, there's 3 people above our heads circling around the planet with 28,000 kilometers per hour, which is pretty amazing, I think. And we were shortly discussing beforehand that this is all due to technology and innovations that have been, done years and decades before us. And because you're asking what's state of the art, I don't know, state of the art right now, actually, especially this year. This is when we look at Elon Musk sending 2 NASA astronauts to the space station for the first time. Commercial spaceflight has been happening successfully, and it looks like a Tesla flying. So we're all going from a lot of switches and toggles and a lot of busy cockpits into sleek, clean, touchpad kind of experiences. So yeah, the future is now and the future is real, I would say.
Yeah, it seems that most of the big tech entrepreneurs, the big tech billionaires, they're all obsessed with space. Like there's Jeff Bezos, who has like one of the first things that he ever said was like, I want to go to space. And Amazon for him is kind of like a means to be able to do that. Then we have Elon Musk, all the other guys. We have many people, space tourists who flew to space, who were millionaires. So there seems to be, at least from the private sector or from dedicated nerds, there seems to be a lot of interest in doing that. And so what is your perspective on that? Is commercial space enterprise like taking over, or will this always be a combination of national funding and commercial projects?
I think it always has to start with an agency-based idea. So like we have been sending astronauts from the agency side, from ESA, from NASA, from Roscosmos to space, but it has to be privatized like everything else. So if you're looking at aviation, for example, right now, I mean, okay, we're in a weird year for that, but I could just pick up my phone and we could just slide through some offers and pick a flight for 40 euros somewhere, close in Europe. And we would hop on a plane and just do that. And that was impossible in our grandparents' time to just even think of that. So this is something that has just occurred in the last, 5 minutes of history, basically. So imagine what could happen in the next 10 or 20 years with us and with especially spaceflight if we just, extrapolate that. So right now, and we're talking about this today, we're going away from just experiences that are agency-based to something that everyone can do. And that's not only, well, you said you didn't make it into the selection and actually fly yourself, which I personally believe you could still if you really wanted. But we are actually including VR to bring that experience also to a broader public already.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, I have a little model here. It's I just got it. Speaking about Amazon and Jeff Bezos, I got it from Amazon just a couple of days ago. It's one of the fake Lego Saturn V rockets, and I'm very eager to build it in the next couple of days. But let's switch over and ask Giovanni. Giovanni, could you tell us how you got interested in the topic? So were you like a space buff like me already, or how did you get up and just like make up the decision of like, I want to create a space simulator?
Right. Well, first of all, it was born by the frustration to see so many virtual reality experiences that were definitely entertaining. There are so many video games being developed in virtual reality, but back then when we were starting to develop the project, we said, but like, isn't really something that really makes you fly in 360 degrees out there? So is there a machine that can permit you to do that? And actually, we've been traveling around the world from Tokyo to Shanghai. There is nothing really similar to this machine that we were imagining. And space comes as a very, very important, topic into the Vitruvian project, which of course, can host infinite experiences, not just space. Space, we believe that has to be democratized faster than how the democratization of space is actually coming, right? Because space tourism is becoming a reality. But of course, if you can jump in 2030 and 40, it will be just a bunch of people that will be able to afford this kind of trips. So our aim was really to make it possible for everybody. And it's not just a pure entertainment. That we really believe that everybody, every human being should be able to see the Earth from space and get that feeling, that which is studied as the overview effect, because it's very important in this stage, especially these harsh times, to see reality, the truth, which is actually the theme of the Biennale this year. And make it simple, affordable, and easy for everybody. So this was really the main objective, and we actually made it. Of course, it's still a prototype machine. We are getting we are presenting the new prototype now at the Wired Next Fest, and we are very thrilled to make it, to try to as much people as possible.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I've been online, I guess, since 1987, which is a long time, a pretty early digital native, because I got on BBS bulletin boards when I was a kid and that kind of stuff. So I've been observing virtual reality development a little bit, because virtual reality was always the big thing. I remember the first time I heard a speech by Jean-Ron Lanier and the first presentations at Autodesk and the Data Glove and all that stuff. Yeah. But it seems that over the last decades, virtual reality has been in this constant state of vaporware. So nobody knew, when will VR really take off? When will it be something that we will really use in our homes? And it seems that it is kind of getting there because of some games and stuff like that. But still, I'm just waiting for the big explosion of VR. So when do you think will that happen? Or is it already happening?
First of all, I particularly do not like VR as a tool that separates us from reality. I really love VR when it's a tool to make us explore reality and to as a cultural tool. So I don't feel that we should embrace this technology as a routine, a day by day experience. I wouldn't imagine myself in 5 to 10 years to use VR headsets more than I do today when I'm actually, applying this fantastic technology to very specific applications. So in terms of, markets, location-based entertainment is VR location-based entertainment. I really feel is the field that should make people access this fantastic technology for experience that they cannot have at home, right? We know, Facebook is coming up with the new Quest, which is fantastic. But again, just to not lose the contact with reality, we wouldn't need to have these, access, daily access to it, just because it separates from the other human beings, right? So in my view, my desire, my wish is that we really try to use this technology for very, very important meanings, such as, of course, entertainment. And Vitruvian is very entertaining, but also it makes you, the topic of the threshold is something that we really believe in Vitruvian. So with Vitruvian, you access something with your body, right? You can move around freely in a 360 degrees fashion with your body. Something that, of course, won't happen, very soon, but not even in 50 years at home. You won't have a Vitruvian machine at home. Hopefully not. You will try these experiences in location-based entertainment centers, such as VR arcades, but also in museums, in planetariums, all these kind of museums that are taking VR very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Laura, there's a good point that Giovanni made that like trying to recreate a very perfect situation, so to speak, in a very a great location, almost like an amusement park or something like that. And there has been a long tradition, of course, especially for example, I'm thinking of Walt Disney and the Walt Disney parks, where there was always an interesting form of there were interesting ideas out there to how to sell the idea of space travel, or how to democratize space travel through entertainment. And my question would be, how do you see the value of entertainment in science and science education right now? What are interesting examples for you of stuff that you really like, that really reach a lot of people, but are also scientifically accurate entertainment, let's call it?
Right. A wonderful question, actually, and now I have to do a little bit of self-advertisement, I guess. So I can only see it from my point of view, and I'm a human being, so I guess I'm not very different to other human beings. And I'm drawn to movies, and I'm drawn to people who can speak in a very inspirational manner, right? So, of course, movies in the last couple of years have picked up on the space theme more and more, but in a way that is not just always, Star Wars, Star Trek in 2,000 years ahead of us, but actually about topics that are, happening right now. There was Gravity, there was Interstellar, there's The Martian, and we had a great movie about the moon. So all the things that are actually happening right now. The ISS was pictured in it pretty well, and it's getting to the point where, I see kids phrasing the question to their parents, I want to become an astronaut. And 20 years ago, they would get a pat on their little heads and be sent off to their room, where now parents are like, okay, well, then you just have to go and study hard and try and make the way, right? Because it's becoming a real option in a life to travel to space. And that is also because people like us, we are putting the word out, we are interested in it, and we're trying to enhance technology so that other people can experience it. And that was also the reason why I'm so happy and I'm so glad that I got the chance of becoming a speaker for it, because I want to transport what I feel about human spaceflight to a broader public so that they get inspired. And so I have to get to your question from the backside. I think it's always about how well people get inspired in order to do something that is perceived to be new, far away, and impossible. And those three criteria were all true for space. a couple of years ago. Where now I believe it's something that is more and more in our daily life. It all comes down to inspiration, I think.
Okay, wonderful. Another question for you, Laura. There is always the term of the democratization of space. Giovanni also mentioned it before. But for me, space and democracy is always a very, it's not in the same part of my brain. Because if I think about space, I'm not thinking about democracy, because there is no democratic, there is not a democratic process is bringing people to space, but a very strict peer group evaluation of who will go to space and what will be done there. So for me, space is not democracy or not democratic. Or would you disagree with me about that?
I personally wouldn't use a political term for it, but the world is changing. And the example I wanted to make just before with aviation, just some decades ago, it was impossible to think that, will I ever fly on a plane, this big metal thing out there, which makes a lot of noise in the sky. And as my grandparents never thought they would fly in a plane. And right now, you might think, I will never fly in a rocket, but hey, we might have this talk in 15 years from now, and you might be surprised because there's a lot of things happening really fast that might get you into space faster than you can even say space, right? So there is forces at work around our globe that are definitely looking into a democratic way to use space, but also a commercial way, which will give a lot of more people the chance of experiencing it. And not everyone will fly to the ISS, not everyone will fly to the moon, but we will definitely, in the next 10 years, have rocket spaceports where you will probably not even on a phone anymore, but on something else, buy a ticket to travel on a rocket to just Australia. Fingers crossed we're still allowed to travel by then. But I think it's on us right now to have faith in what technology will bring, and not just push aside something that is impossible right now.
Giovanni, of course, your approach is a very democratic or very open approach, because it is a tiny little fraction of what it actually costs to put the payload of a person to space. You can experience it here on Earth. My question would actually be that I remember when I was a kid, many people were interested in going to space or being an astronaut, but it seems that there is like cyberspace, how we called it in the 80s, kind of took over. So there are way more people interested in virtual realities than in space or going to space. What do you think? Is this actually something just like a matter of choices? Is it a matter of fashion? What do you think?
Well, no, yes, I think, quoting once Elon Musk said something very, very important, that technology and progress is we not have to take it for granted. The coolness of space, the hype of space was so strong until the 80s, right? Just because NASA by that time was a little bit fading away in terms of, expenditure. And so now with all these, as you mentioned, SpaceX and also Jeff Bezos, everybody is trying to invest in space. Space is becoming cool again, right? Very cool for a younger audience. What we really try to bring with Vitruvian is imagine, thousands, if not 100,000 young people, like students, trying the machine and really, really getting a grasp of the immensity of space and actually study, astronomy or astrophysics through this fantastic and very entertaining tool. We are just accelerating this process, right? In 50 years, we will probably fly, as Laura said, maybe earlier, just a rocket would be another passenger, normal, traditional passenger tool. But until then, we are trying to make it happen for a very important cultural reason, not just for entertaining. Imagine, we are building more than one Vitruvian. Of course, we have already 2 prototypes. So imagine flying with other people. That's very important. The multiplayer is something that we really believe in. Just because, not isolating yourself too much into virtual reality, but sharing this experience with others makes it very, very thrilling. And of course, I'm a gamer too. I love playing, and game is important as a human experience. So what if this gameplay, this esports, is actually making you learn a lot of other notions about space, and not just about space. As I said before, Vitruvian is open to any kind of experience. We were talking with the Google Earth VR developer, which would like to apply Google Earth to Vitruvian. So you can fly anywhere in the world into Google Earth's amazing rendered imagery. So this is our focus, just to make it possible right now in 2020 for anybody to get out there. Yeah.
Wonderful. I heard you brought some little videos. Can we maybe have a look at them? Because then it's probably easier to understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think we can play the trailer first, and then the Wired Milan, where actually we can see Laura trying the Vitruvian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, we can start with the trailer 1.
Whoa.
I had to actually film this with my phone just now because that was too good.
Oh wow! I mean, it totally reminds me. I remember when I was in the 1980s, when I, as a kid, went to John F. Kennedy Space Center for the first time. They had a couple of those exhibits where they trained. I mean, there's this great book called Moonfire, and they have all these like weird contraptions that they put the astronauts into to simulate like all that kind of stuff. And so my question would be, Laura, because you tried it, how real is it? Is it the real thing?
Is the real
Of
thing.
course,
Well, I wish I could
minus gravity, you know.
really answer you that question that I was in space and I could compare it to, but not yet, not yet.
Ah,
It's a great experience. It's you know, there's one person make this woo sound, you know, because you immerse completely in it. All your senses are in it. You're controlling the thing. You can fly. It's real fun to do loops in it, backwards, forwards, to the sides. From the imagery, it's amazing. It's what you would expect from VR. It's pretty new that you can have that speed flying, you know, from planets to planets or among stars or something like that. It's yeah, it was quite a chill for the brain, I have to say.
yeah, I mean, my first question would be for both of you. I mean, there are known problems with VR already, that some people just get sick even with their home Oculus and all that stuff, you know? I mean, putting people in that situation where they are turned around and stuff like that, I mean, do you have to sign a damage waiver or something like that? Or have you had experience of people getting sick?
Well, we are running a very, very important part of the project is just to have feedbacks from the users. So we put on board more than 1,000 people right now on Vitruvian, and the motion sickness feedback is incredibly low because Vitruvian differently from other simulators of this sort, is completely coherent with what you see. So what you actually do on the machine is what you see. And it will be even more when we are basically making it fully 360 degrees without any cables. So if you see the faces of course, like people like Laura or Walter Villadei, the astronaut, they are having fun, but it's for them, it's something that they already experienced somewhere else. While for all the other people that are trying VR for the first time, the sensation of nausea is basically to zero. Like out of 1,000 people, very few said, I'm feeling it, right? And this is very, very important because otherwise, how can we democratize it if it's actually making you sick? So we're very happy about the results, and it's just getting better and better by the time we are releasing the commercial version, basically.
Laura, because you are a former astronaut trainer, would such a machine then be used in astronaut training?
Sure, I wouldn't have or know a reason why not. And to be quite frank about it, we're using VR already. NASA has been using it for years because this is the only way how you can, you know, apart from being in the training pool, simulate a spacewalk to the detail. And this is why in NASA you have a VR lab where, in a very funny way, you have basically two people with glasses on and they're, you know, having their hands in the mid-air repairing the space station for 5 hours. So definitely there's absolutely no reason why there shouldn't be. And I would even go further. I mean, today we're talking about space because it's, yes, I know it's the best human frontier that we have right now, don't we? But there's so much more. Imagine all the people who can't walk. Imagine people who could never experience diving. I mean, this is not limited to just space. You could have, like Giovanni said, it's an experience and a learning factor for anything that you could imagine, really. Okay, it's flying because we humans can fly, but it's diving, it's being an oil rigger suspended midair on an oil platform. It could be, you know, flying a plane over Antarctica. It could be anything. It's only up to us. So what they're building right now with Vitruvian is really, it's just the beginning, I would say. So if I can make the team, I would have more ideas.
Well, then my question to Giovanni would be: so, what are your plans for world domination or entertainment domination? What other ideas? I mean, there is space, as if space is not big enough already. So, what other possible or interesting ways do you have in mind that you could use your technology for?
Well, yes, as Laura said, infinite. So we are, of course, focusing also on the training opportunity, right, for astronauts and other pilots, right? Because Vitruvian just makes you access to a machine that is very versatile, much more versatile than traditional flying simulators that are actually grounded on Earth and don't permit you to actually fly. To give you an example, Vitruvian was born actually in one of the most important flying simulator centers in Italy, because that's where the space and then the help started. So space, aerospace training for sure, aeronautics as well. We are developing a project also for helicopter training, which is very important. Just to imagine how much you can save in terms of fuel to refuel all these planes and actually train as if you were actually on top of those rather than being grounded on the ground. And then there is sports as well. Imagine all kind of like winter sports like bobs or ski. There are many applications. The most important thing is just to keep it, as you said, word domination. We want to fly down. We are growing little by little, and we have to focus on certain applications before the others, right? And this is what we are applying right now too. So space is actually the software we are using, but also we have a paraglide software, which is very, very fun. You can just fly around very beautiful landscapes. So a lot of teams and for sure training. We were talking with Laura last year at Wire. I'm not sure if Laura remembers how we can use Vitruvian opportunity that has such a low motion sickness rate in reverse. So while like training astronauts, making it just get to the other way, just increasing motion sickness with the simulator, just because it makes it's possible on Vitruvian, right? Many things, many great adventures awaits us.
I'm on the verge of becoming a helicopter pilot, so I'm voting yes for the helicopter version.
Nice.
It would not only save fuel, but a lot of time.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Laura, what is the like? It's such a stupid question actually, but how do you actually get to be an astronaut or a cosmonaut or a taikonaut? So like, what are the procedures that you have to go through to become like one of the few hand-picked people to go to space?
Chosen ones.
Yeah,
well, right now, it's not a stupid question. There are no stupid questions. So right now, in order to become an astronaut on this planet, you would have to wait until an agency either puts in a job vacancy saying we're looking for a new class of astronauts. You would have to apply. Basically, if you want to do this in Europe, most of the times, the last couple of times, you would have to bring in a medical certificate already stating that you're fit enough. It's a flight certificate that you would also have to show in aviation. And then the last couple of times, it took about a year where from thousands and thousands of people who have the same dream like you would be then sent into cognitive skill testings, math tests, stress tests, communication tests, group tests, medical tests, interviews, until the number goes down from 10,000 to, a couple of hundred, a couple of 10 people, and then, 4, 5, 6 people that are the chosen ones. And this is more or less the same if you look at NASA or Roscosmos right now. But, of course, and you mentioned it before, if you are one of the lucky ones and you already have millions and millions on your account and you just don't know what to do with it, well, let me tell you, the Russians are gladly accepting your check, and you can buy a seat on a Soyuz rocket and you can just fly to the ISF if you wanted to, or probably ask Elon to have one of his precious seats on a Crew Dragon capsule.
Yeah, I had
also possible.
Yeah, I had a nice conversation like 3, 4 years ago with Richard Garriott, who is kind of like I think one of the few second generation astronauts, because his father was an astronaut on Skylab, and he became like a video game millionaire and could afford to buy his way to space, and then flew with the Russians to the ISS.
Yeah, lucky.
Yeah, lucky. No, actually, because I'm an artist, because I'm not so good with the science stuff. Although I can have a grip on it, but it's not that good. But a friend of mine, Josh Ellingson, he is from San Francisco, and Richard Garriott curated, I think, the first art exhibition in space on the ISS. And so my friend's artwork was actually flown to space, and you could see it hanging in the ISS. So that's quite something, I have to say.
That's quite something. But I want to add, for everyone who is going like, oh yeah, but I will never fly to space. Imagine people, we're all astronauts. We're flying on a planet in 365 days around the sun. So maybe that, calms down.
It's true. But at the same time,
put it in perspective.
Yeah. At the same time, it always puts me in stress, because if I think that I'm moving with so much through space all the time in that speed, it's just like, wow. I'm getting dizzy already.
It's a change of perspective that sometimes can make your day, because like everyone else, we always get caught up in little problems and little hiccups. And probably Giovanni knows that too. During the last year, probably just working on the Vitruvian, we get caught up in small things, and sometimes, at least that thought helps me, and maybe it helps other people. There's astronauts in space every single day.
It is true. At the same time, I think, there's this whole debate about should we go to space? Should we spend all that money? Whitey's on the moon, all that kind of debate. We have heard it for many years. But for me, I think there is this whole issue that people don't think about, that we're talking about, wasting resources, wasting energy. I mean, we are in space. There is nearly an infinite number of everything out there. I mean, there are like asteroids that are pure iron or pure titanium or whatever it is. So there is no lack of resources. We just have to get our hands on it. So I guess the next step would be to save with material, or save exploiting Earth, or reducing the exploitation of Earth by just maybe getting our hands on resources from space. Is there any thought about what could be, or what should be the next steps stepping into space? Should it be something like a commercial project of mining asteroids or something like that, or should it be something like the flight to Mars as a common goal for humanity? What are your perspectives? Maybe let's start with Giovanni. Oh, I can't hear you.
Sorry, my microphone was weak. The argument against spending money on space exploration is very, very weak, because we, as quoting again the person who is accelerating this process so much, which is Elon Musk, we must have the ability to become a multiplanetary. Just because, of course, it's very remote, the possibility to receive an asteroid on Earth, but it's actually there. So we must find very fast a way to become multiplanetary. Okay, it's just existential. It's not just about exploring or taking resources from space. In that regard, about asteroids and this kind of celestial objects, I want to thank a lot Vladimir Romanik, who is the developer of SpaceEngine.org. Space Engine is very important for us because it's the software that makes you fly make space dive on Vitruvian possible. Think that there are 130,000 celestial objects already inside the software, and of course you can download it for free and you can explore. And then, of course, trying it on the Vitruvian is something else. But I really recommend people trying, if they are space enthusiasts, to try this software before trying Vitruvian, which is very, very important.
Laura.
I love that question. Thanks for asking the question. Because the best answer I have to the question, why do we need to go to space? I would say, why not? People go and climb the highest mountains and they do it with oxygen, without it, and it's a real stress and struggle and people die. And if you ask them why they do it, they say, because it's there, because we can. And this is something that is inherent to all of us. And this bridges over cultures and mentalities and languages. It's curiosity. And for as long as there will be human beings, we'll be exploring. We've done that, or we have been doing it for hundreds of years since our existence, since we stepped out of that cave. Our footsteps have always led us further and further away from that cave, and we are still doing that. And it's just important, I think, to realize that there's many frontiers that mankind is facing. Space is just one of them. And if you are a geek in math and physics and you just love space, hey, you might be great on that frontier. If you love deep ocean studies, you're great as a oceanologist. So there's different ways of exploration. The main thing to remember is it's not exploitation. We have to explore because we're exploiting, and we're done exploiting. I mean, it's already apparent why we have to go, like Giovanni said, and find a different space for us humans. It's because we're not treating our planet really nicely. Maybe that's also something we should, recap on and consider for the next hundreds of years. It's just impossible for us to stop. And for people who, and I know this because I get asked this question a lot. Yeah, but space flight, human space flight, travel, rockets, everything is so expensive. No, it's not. If I could put it for you into perspective, and especially in Germany, I would have things that cost 3 times as much as what we spend on human spaceflight. Spaceflight definitely is not expensive. Is you not knowing the statistics and believing something that is hearsay. So dig into your statistics to find out what is true about how expensive spaceflight is. Giovanni, you were right, I believe, in saying we have to go further and we have to see what is out there, and we'll just never know what we'll find. But that's true for any type of innovation and technology. You have a goal, you try and reach that goal by inventing something new. That's how the space agency in Europe works as well. And along the way, you come up with new technologies, which are spin-offs to other countries, other technologies. So you're by going towards one goal, which for us is space and outer space, Moon, Mars, and so on, we're helping back on the planet other companies, other technology fields to prosper. So we'll just have to do it. Why not?
Yeah. So So my last question for both of you would be, because one of my favorite science fiction authors of all times is Ian M. Banks. I'm not sure if you've heard of him, but Ian Banks is just like, I love him because he has such a positive out views. Like, how could be the future of humanity as in a way, in a utopian way, because we see so many dystopian views of the future. So where are the utopian views? And he pretty much says that, and I have the fear myself, and he articulates it in a way that he's created a utopian society. So my fear is that we kind of like drag all the negative exploitative aspects of our cultures into space. So all the negative sides of capitalism, all the negative sides of totalitarian regimes, etc., etc. So, and he pretty much said, and that gives me a lot of reason to still believe in this grand adventure of traveling to space, is that he thinks that space will change us. We will not be able to survive in space if we do the same things. If we do the things like we do them here on Earth, because we would just like kill us up there in that environment. And I'm not sure, do you agree with that? Or do you also have a very optimistic view of that grand endeavor? Maybe you, Giovanni.
Yes, I am personally very optimistic in that regard. I feel that, of course, no matter how we evolve in space, we will bring with us the good and the bad. So I can imagine in the future, in the remote future, definitely, as you said, wars for exploitation of any kind of things that we'll encounter in space. But the path is there. I mean, history is just telling us that we are, as a civilization, accelerating this process for space exploration. We are actually in the only time of history of the universe, of our this very small corner of the universe, where we are able to get off. And this will definitely change us for the better, and will make us understand, as I was saying before, the overview effect that is so powerful. When you are out there and you see how fragile the Earth is, you experience firsthand that kind of loneliness that we actually have, and we just take it out, keep it out of the window of our minds. But we are very lonely and very fragile, and so getting off just makes you make you a better civilian on Earth. I believe.
Laura.
I'm nodding. I mean, still, I would love to just experience it for myself. But what I can say, listening to all the guys and girls who have flown up there and come back and gave their feedback and debriefing sessions to us, and you were just amongst a group of so many people listening to our astronauts, what they've experienced. The first half an hour is never spent on, oh, how was the experiment running, and were we on time, and how was the setup and everything. It was more like, this is crazy, this is insane. A, she's really round. B, this is all we have. Why can I not bring more people? So it's really this change of perspective that is happening. As Giovanni said, we are all people, and personally, I believe it all boils down to money is the problem. As long as we'll have money on the planet, or a way of, wealth that can distinguish people, and as long as we have hunger and mistreatment, there will always be a commercial side to a lot of things, and there will always be people who, do something and sell something for money, which is not the right way. So it's about, I think, in the end, it's a personal attitude and finding something to guide us. Well, I mean, we have this great opportunity of stepping onto this new ground. And as Giovanni said, from experience, we should know now how to do it in a better way. Well, okay, we might not be perfect in it, that's fine, okay, but we could use this experience. But we need to find the first answer, I think, within ourselves, which is which principles guide our lives. And there it's good to just, hashtag check your privileges sometimes and watch out for the other people around you. So, for me, it's a philosophical question in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. Yeah, I really have to stop now. It's a not very philosophical question for me because my plumber will show up like in 3 minutes or something like that. I'm very glad I still have gravity here so the driplets are not floating around, but then I could probably float with them. But I'm not sure I would like to swallow those driplets from my broken toilet, so maybe not. But maybe some other day we can talk about broken toilets on the ISS and stuff like that. That's also like very hands-on human experience of space and stuff like that. But thank you so much, you two. There's one thing I really wanted to show you because I completely forgot it. I got it in the video break of Giovanni's presentation a couple of years ago, actually 10 years ago. I made like a sitcom about living on the International Space Station. It was actually a theater play, and we recorded that theater play and we made 11 episodes. And I played one of the European Space Agency ground control guys, German ground control guy from ESOC in Darmstadt. And I was pretty much an asshole character, I have to say, but it was a fun way to play around with the reality of space and putting it into a sitcom format. So that was very nice. That was the closest thing I will probably ever get, besides your wonderful VR machine, Giovanni, to get to space. So thank you so much for your great work. Thank you so much for doing your share in getting us all to space, or at least almost to space. So thank you so much, and I will definitely keep checking your bios on your Vitas and your projects, because I'm already hooked. Thank you so much.
Thank you too, and obviously, and Giovanni knows it. We've been talking about it last year. I'm still trying very hard to get a Vitruvian to ESA, to the Astronaut Training Center, but it's a long way, and need some help, right? So let's see. Maybe Johannes, you could come and visit the Vitruvian in the Astronaut Center.
Oh, sure, right? Absolutely. I'll do that. I'll bring Austrian cakes, or like as a payment.
Fair enough.